Listen to stories and appreciate idioms. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Encountering Chinese, Encountering Idioms. Today, the idiom we are going to encounter is
退避三舍
Let's break it down and read it slowly.
退避三舍退避三舍退避三舍退
means retreat or withdraw.
避
means avoid or evade.
三
means 3.
舍
refers to the ancient measurement of distance during military marches, where 15 kilometers constituted 1.
舍退避三舍
literally means voluntarily retreat 15 kilometers. It now metaphorically implies avoiding conflicts, making concessions, or giving way to others. The idiom
退避三舍
originated from the historical text. Shuan, year 23 of Shigong. The original text states,
若以君之灵得反晋国晋楚治兵欲于中原其辟君三舍
This phrase means that if I have the opportunity to return to my home country and govern, the Jin state is willing to maintain a friendly relationship with the Chu state. If a war were to break out between Jin and Chu in the future, I would order our troops to retreat 45 kilometers as a gesture of deference to your majesty. The historical story behind this statement is as follows. In the ancient spring and autumn period, there was a young man named Chong'er, who was the third son of Duke Xian of the Jin state. One year, Duke Xian of Jin state, influenced by the treacherous counselor Dong Hu, killed his eldest son, Crown Prince Shensheng, and sent people to pursue Chong'er. Chong'er heard about this news in advance and hastily fled Jin state to save his life. After leaving Jin state, Chong'er had no choice but to live in exile for many years. During his long years of exile, Chong'er traveled to several countries and experienced unimaginable hardships and difficulties, but he never gave up hope of returning to his homeland. Finally, Chong'er arrived in the state of Chu. The king of Chu, King Qing, heard about Chong'er's story and had his own thoughts. King Qing said to his ministers, Chong'er has suffered a lot during his exile. His willpower must have been greatly tempered. I believe he will achieve something in the future. Since he has come to Chu state, we should treat him with the etiquette befitting a sovereign and make him our honored guest. So, King Qing prepared a banquet and personally entertained Chong'er. They sat together, enjoyed drinks, and had a lively conversation. During their conversation, King Qing suddenly smiled and asked Chong'er, I believe you, Chong'er, are an ambitious person. If, one day, you can return to Jin state and become its ruler, how do you plan to repay me? After a brief moment of contemplation, Chong'er smiled and replied, Your Majesty, your Chu state is abundant in resources. Whether it's beautiful maidens, precious silk, or exquisite feathers, ivory, and animal skins, you have everything here. Moreover, in Jin state, which is a small country, resources are scarce, and valuable items are even rarer. Even if I return to Jin state, I'm afraid I won't be able to find any precious objects to offer you first. King Qing laughed and said, Chong'er, you are too modest. Although your Jin state is small and lacks valuable treasures, there must be other ways for you to repay me, right? Chong'er replied with a smile, King Qing, you make a valid point. If I have the fortune to return to Jin state and govern its affairs, I am willing to establish friendly relations with Chu state. If a war were to break out between Chu and Jin, I promise you that I will order my troops to retreat 45 kilometers away to pacify the war. If even this cannot earn your forgiveness, then I will fight against you. For years later, true to King Cheng's words, Chong'er indeed returned to the state of Jin and became its ruler, known as Duke Wen of Jin. Duke Wen was skilled in employing talented individuals and implemented benevolent policies. He was an outstanding sovereign. Under his governance, the state of Jin gradually grew stronger. The growing strength of Jin state caused concerns in the state of Chu. In the year 663 BC, a war broke out between Jin and Chu. The armies of both states met on the battlefield, and Duke Wen of Jin, in order to fulfill his promise from years ago, ordered his troops to retreat 45 kilometers and set up camp at Qingpu. The Chu generals were unaware of Duke Wen's commitment and assumed that the retreat of the Jin army was due to their fear of facing the mighty Chu state. As a result, they immediately pursued and attacked the Jin army. The Jin army effectively exploited the Chu army's arrogance and overconfidence, concentrated their forces, and decisively defeated the Chu army. In the Battle of Qingpu, the Jin army achieved a comprehensive victory. In this way, Duke Wen not only fulfilled his original promise but also used it to successfully defeat the state of Chu. In this story, Chong'er told King Qing that if a war were to break out between our two countries, he would order his soldiers to retreat 45 kilometers away to pacify the war. That's where the idiom
退避三舍
comes from. There is another story that goes like this. In the ancient spring and autumn period, there was an official in the state of Lu named Ji Jia. Ji Jia was a very intelligent and capable person. During his tenure in the state of Lu, he dedicated himself to promoting political reforms and fostering the prosperity and stability of the country. Through his efforts, Ji Jia rose to the position of Dafu, a high-ranking official. However, during Ji Jia's time as Dafu, a new king, Duqin of Lu, ascended to the throne. Duqin was an incompetent king. He was indulgent and negligent in state affairs, spending his days immersed in pleasure. Under Duqin's rule, the strength of the state of Lu declined, which greatly worried Ji Jia. One day, Ji Jia went to the palace of Duqin, hoping to offer his advice and persuade him to change his behavior, urging him to work for the development of the country. However, Duqin treated Ji Jia with disdain and even expelled him from the palace. Ji Jia was well aware of Duqin's incompetence. If he stayed by his side, it would only put him in a more dangerous situation. Therefore, he made the proactive decision to leave. At first, Ji Jia moved away from the capital and settled in a place not too far from the city. However, after a while, he still felt uneasy and decided to move even farther away. He gradually distanced himself from the capital, knowing that Duqin couldn't cause him trouble if he couldn't find him. Ji Jia, in order to protect himself and his family, stayed away from the court but never abandoned his original aspirations. While living outside, he continued to search for better ways to promote the development of the state of Lu. After a few years, the incompetent Duke Yin passed away, and his successor, Duke Wen of Lu, ascended to the throne. Duke Wen was completely different from Duke Yin. He was diligent in governance and loved his people, with the sole intention of revitalizing the state of Lu. Duke Wen greatly admired Ji Xia's talent. He read many books compiled by Ji Xia which gave him tremendous support and praise. Duke Wen invited Ji Xia back to the court and rewarded him. Ji Xia was grateful for Duke Wen's favor and from then on, wholeheartedly assisted Duke Wen in contributing to the development of the state of Lu. In this story, Ji Xia left the court and distanced himself from the capital to avoid conflicts with the incompetent Duke Yin. This is where the idiom
退避三舍
and this story also teaches us that sometimes, voluntarily stepping back doesn't mean being cowardly or timid, but rather, it is a wise way to avoid conflicts and protect oneself. 2 stories have been told. Next, let's review the idiom we encountered today.
退避三舍退避三舍
Finally, let's use
退避三舍
to make a sentence.
这种恶霸出现，任谁都要退避三舍。这种恶霸出现，任谁都要退避三舍。
That's all for today's Encountering Idioms. If you enjoy it, please like and subscribe. See you next time.